Hello, my dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to talk to you once again with a different topic. Today, I am going to discuss about do's and don'ts needed to face mathematics paper by class 12 students. It would be very useful not only for CBSE students but for students of other boards also, since syllabus is more or less the same in every board. Now, let me start with the discussion. Keep your mind calm. If you are tensed up, you will not be able to recall even the known concepts or even a simple formula. Start answering from 6 marks or long answers, because if you waste too much of a time on 1 or 2 mark questions or short answer questions, you may not get enough time to do long answers even if it is well known to you. Don't ever waste too much of time on a particular question. If you feel you need more time to think and answer a particular problem, finish off the remaining questions which are well known to you and come back to this particular question at the end. Psychologically, you would get the solution for this question if you sit and think at the end after finishing the remaining well known questions. Don't forget to write units like units for ordinary length, square units for areas, cubic units for volumes, etc. wherever applicable. If centimeter or meter is used in the problem itself, use the particular units appropriately. Make use of the graph sheets for problems on LPP, that is, linear programming problem. Otherwise, you will be wasting your time on measuring the units on both x and y axis unnecessarily. Proper shading on problems on LPP is a must. Shade only the common feasible region. Too much of shading for each of the constraints under consideration would make the graph more clumsy. Don't forget to write the scale on problems on LPP for both the axes accordingly what you have used. For problems on area under the curve, draw a rough diagram for the required region. Even though the diagram is rough, without plotting necessary points systematically, see to it graph is quite reasonable. Without shading the common region on problems on area under the curve will give you minimum negative marking. See to it the common region and area under the curve is being shaded properly. You may come across right angle triangle as a part of area in area under the curve. Don't ever use formula of area of the triangle directly in such questions. Here you are expected to use integral a to b f of x dx formula accordingly. Usage of a, b, f of x vary from problem to problem. While you use the formula for tan inverse x plus tan inverse y is equal to tan inverse x plus y by 1 minus xy, always recall the condition product xy should be less than 1. For wrong usage of such a formula will give you 0 credit to your account. Similarly, for usage of the formula tan inverse x minus tan inverse y is equal to tan inverse x minus y 1 plus xy, recall that the condition is product xy should be greater than minus 1. For a point to be a point of local minimum, first derivative is 0 and second derivative should be positive at that point. For a point to be a point of local maximum, first derivative is 0 and second derivative should be negative at that point. Don't forget to do the second derivative part in such answers. While you answer 10th problem, concentrate fully on that. Forget about the remaining problems. If your mind thinks of some other problem other than the one what you are answering, you tend to make silly mistakes in such answers. Read the question thoroughly and start answering. Don't forget to answer all subparts meant for a question. If you don't read the question properly, you tend to leave out value-based questions which would be given at the end of the sentence in any problem in some of the questions. If the question contains condition if and only if, both the parts should be answered. If there is only condition if mentioned in the problem, we should assume if part and we should prove the other part. We should not do the converse by mistake. Our excuses will never fetch us marks in examinations. In the examination hall, don't ever try to contact your friends even by gestures. A small signal or whisper to your friend or neighbor may be misunderstood by the invigilator that you are trying to get help from your friend. Don't give room for such situations. Be ready with your own materials. Try to avoid borrowing articles from your friends. Borrowing without permission may be misunderstood and you students would be in trouble. Don't give room for such situations. There would be internal choice for some of the 4-mark questions and some of the 6-mark questions. Don't be in a hurry to choose the first question always out of the 2. Choose the one which you know better out of the 2 questions given. Such decisions could be done in the first 15 minutes which are given for you as reading time. Those 15 minutes ought to be utilized properly to go through the questions thoroughly and to come to the conclusion to start with the known answers and proceed with the rest. Don't ever use those 15 minutes to confuse yourself after reading the whole paper. In any problem on integration with division of one polynomial by another, check whether numerator is of less degree as compared to the denominator and proceed with the answer using partial fractions. If numerator is of equal or greater degree than the denominator, don't apply partial fraction directly. In such cases, divide and use partial fraction for the remaining part. Here, recall to use the rule dividend is equal to quotient into divisor plus remainder, or dividend by divisor is equal to quotient plus remainder by divisor, and apply partial fraction for the second part. On any problem on definite integrals, recall to use the corresponding change in the limits whenever we use a suitable substitution. For example, if x limits are 0 to 1 and if we use the substitution x equal to tan theta, the corresponding limits for theta would be 0 to pi by 4. Don't ever use the same limiting value for both the variables. On any problem on differential equations, apply your mind to think whether the equation comes under variable separable form or homogeneous form using y equal to vx or x equal to vy, or linear differential equations of the form dy by dx plus py is equal to q, or dx by dy plus px equal to q, and then proceed with the rest of the answers accordingly. Don't be in a hurry to proceed. Don't sit for longer hours the previous day to your maths exam. You need minimum of 8 hours of sleep to think and answer your maths paper in a relaxed manner. Don't discuss the answers with your friends till the moment you enter the examination hall. There is a possibility of getting confused if you discuss the answers at the end. Be cool and recall the concept within yourself. Stop talking to your friends unnecessarily before your maths examination. Don't panic by looking at a problem which is slightly different from what you practiced already. Finish off the remaining questions with the feeling of happiness of answering the other problems correctly. You would get nice hint for such different problems also if you sit and think at the close of the examination. Don't waste too much of your time for such problems at the beginning itself. Recall the steps involved in any of the questions before answering. Writing the answers in the way it is to be presented will definitely get you full credit. Your presentation matters a lot. If the examiner is not able to decipher your numbers properly, obviously he or she is forced to reduce marks while correcting such answers. Don't waste too much of time on drawing lines in between two answers. Leave enough space in between the two answers and draw lines at the end if time permits. Don't waste too much of time on shading the regions with color pencils on problems in LPP as well as area under the curve. Full credit is given only for correct region, not for colorful shading. Don't leave out any question without answering. Even if the question is wrong, by any chance credit would be given only to those students who attempted those questions. No credit is given to those students who have not attempted such questions. Don't waste your time in answering both the questions where internal choice is given. Choose only one which you know better and then proceed with the answers. No extra credit is given for answering both the questions where you have internal choice. Don't repeat any of the answers by mistake. If you answer any question twice, and if for the first time you have done it wrongly and for the second time you have done it fully correct, as per the rules of the board, the examiner is supposed to strike off your second answer and is supposed to take marks of your first answer. Don't give room for such situations. Don't ever use any formula which are not there in CBSE syllabus. For example, you are not supposed to use L'Hospital's rule in limits, or you are not supposed to use sin inverse x plus sin inverse y formula in the examination, since those are not there in CBSE syllabus. Number your questions properly. Changing the question number will give you 0 for such answers. Use subdivisions also as subdivision 1 or subdivision A accordingly. Don't ever use your own numbers or your own symbols for subdivisions or of any of the questions. Don't change a question by yourself thinking that the question is wrong. You are supposed to answer the questions as it is. Don't disturb the invigilator also every now and then for clarification of doubts. They are not allowed to change the questions in the board examination even if the question is wrong. Time you can utilize for different questions will be as follows. 4 into 1 equal to 4 minutes for 1 more questions. 8 into 3 is equal to 24 minutes for 2 more questions. 11 into 5 equal to 55 minutes for 4 mark questions. 6 into 10 equal to 60 minutes for 6 mark questions. Totally, you'll be writing answers for 2 hours 23 minutes. The rest of the 37 minutes can be utilized to revise the whole paper and correct your errors. Don't be overconfident at any time. Overconfidence will bring down your performance always. Always remember, self-confidence leads to success, whereas overconfidence leads to disaster. So be confident and be successful. Do your best and leave the rest to God. Best wishes. I'll meet you once again with a different topic soon. Until then, goodbye. From R. Sankararaman.